When the lights are off and you're home alone, that's when you're alone with your demons.
A lot of times people need to understand that lifestyle, you don't understand that. When the lights are turned off and you're home alone,
that's when you're alone with your demons.
That's when you're alone with your demons. I'm glad you said that.
That's right.
Because it's true.
Woo! Man, that's the part of this interview with Lucky Luciano that hit me the hardest. People probably clicked this podcast thinking, cool, a hip-hop legend, crazy tour stories, dope house, Houston, all that. And got none of that. And instead, they got a full-blown heart check. They got God talk. They got discipline, marriage, kids, and purpose. Now, I'm going to be real with you. That's exactly how Christians talk when the cameras are off. If you've ever been to church, you know exactly how it is. You say bye one time in the lobby, and there you are 30, 45 minutes later, still talking. You hug, you shake hands, you try to part ways, but you end up talking about how good God's been. Then the conversation shifts into testimonies, struggles, kids, marriage, and discipline. That's literally what happened right here with Lucky Luciano sitting down with Tony A on a podcast they filmed in Houston. Shout out H-Town. Now, this interview was set up by Gold Toes, Bay Area legend, Northern California icon in the game. Lucky even says straight up, I don't even really do interviews. I'm just here because Gold Toes asked me for a favor, and he did it. So you're expecting this wild rap sit down, and instead it turns into two grown men talking about God, regret, discipline, and legacy. And honestly, I loved it.
Lucky, when it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
As someone who changed their life for the betterment of not only his family, but for those that watched me, and to be an inspiration to them, to let them know that it's possible to change your life. No matter how low you feel, what addiction you have, whatever you're struggling with, whatever traumas you went through, it can be changed.
Yes.
You know, you got to call out to God, but now you got to go apply that. You can't just call out to God and think God gonna come wave a wand and fix your whole life. It's not a genie. You got to put in the work.
Because underneath all the rap stuff, all the streaming, all the old stories, you start hearing the same pattern you hear from a lot of men who finally came to Christ. I had it all, and I was still empty. Lucky talks about being young with fame, money, clubs, women, traveling, getting paid to show up, living what a lot of dudes think is the dream. But on the inside, he was broken. And that's where I relate.
I wasn't prepared for that, you know, to be thrown in that nightlife, VIP, and having money and just access to so much pleasures of life. I wasn't ready for that. So it really hurt me. I ain't gonna lie. It ended up hurting me. So I ended up, you know, struggling with alcohol, drugs, women, having babies with different girls all over the state. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's how my life was for the next 10, 15 years.
Wow.
And then, you know, I had to, you know, say, hey, I need to get my life together. And that's when I had to make a change and really change my life.
Now, me, I'm no big-time rapper. I'm not touring the country, and I ain't got no platinum plaques. Never did. I was a street dude. I had oil field money. I had a brick house, a marriage, kids, a life people from the outside would have said, man, he's doing pretty good. And I was still empty, like a lot of us. I was still broken on the inside. People don't like hearing that part, but you'll actually hear it over and over from people who finally submit their lives to God. The money didn't fix it. The parties didn't fix it. The attention didn't fix it. It never will. Because like they said in this interview, most of all that stuff is fake.
So Candyman, I'm interviewing him, and he tells me, I had this, I had that, I had this, I had that. He said, but I was still empty. And I said, what do you think that was? And I tripped out on his answer, but it was a real answer. He said, because it's fake.
It's fake.
The fame is fake. The love is fake. The love from the club and the streets, both fake. That energy when you're on stage, bottles popping, everybody screaming your name, that's real for about 4 hours, right? Then the club closes. The substances wear off. And that was just you and them demons. And that doesn't just apply to rappers. Look at a lot of people that are still single in 2025. They're outside every weekend, posting drinks, vacations, parties, thirst traps, outfit pics, acting like life is one big movie. But a lot of them go home, lay down in bed, and cry into that pillow at night. Single, alone. You can stunt all you want on TikTok and Instagram, but when the screen goes black, who are you really? Are you at peace? Or are you numbing something you won't admit is there. That's why I always preach marriage. Not because marriage is some perfect fairy tale, but because God designed it so you're not just out here chasing empty pleasure till you die. Finding a spouse, building a home, raising kids, it anchors you. And that's one thing I really respected about what Lucky said. He didn't just talk about getting right with God in some vague spiritual way. He talked about his wife. He talked about his kids. He talked about having to choose between strip clubs, substances, and attention, or being a real father and husband. You can't do both is basically what he said. You can't be the dude pouring champagne on women at the club and at the same time be the example your sons and daughters need. At some point, one of those versions of you has to die. And the way he described that turning point, that's where discipline comes in.
In Christians, we believe that no matter what you do, what Jesus did on the cross, you are healed, you're forgiven. So no matter what sin you do, you ask for forgiveness and you're forgiven. The problem with that is next week you out there sinning again. And now it's just this cycle and you never stop, you keep going. Even Christians, you can say, well, when you're filled with the Holy Spirit, you won't do that. But there's pastors that still struggle with, adultery. There's Christians still struggling with pornography, smoking weed, drinking alcohol. They still struggle with all that. And it's because they don't have no self-discipline. But when you pick up those daily habits of denying your flesh and denying your body, the Bible says it's called dying to self. So when you wake up before the sun's up, every day, no days off, 7 days a week, you do something your body don't want to do, like go run a mile or do 100 burpees or push-ups, go to the gym, something every day. It builds that mental toughness and that discipline and that self-belief, that self-worth that we've lost. And that's the journey I've been on, and that's what I help other people do now. I feel like there's a lot of men out there that struggle with alcohol, drugs. They don't know how to quit, and everybody around them's done it. Their dad has done it. Their grandpa done it, and they feel like it's okay. But, there's a way out. And you got to go within, though. They're trying to search for an external solution with an internal problem, and you won't ever find it like that. You got to go within.
I'm glad you shared that.
Because a lot of Christians mess this part up. They think, I'll just pray, God will fix everything, and I can keep living how I want. You're going to reap what you sow. For real. Lucky said he hit that wall where he cried out to God, and God didn't just say, go to church twice a week and you're good. He said he felt God tell him, go outside and run. It was January 1st. He was hungover from New Year's Eve. No big spiritual conference, no shiny worship moment. Just get up, go run. And he did it.
When you really, really get to that rock bottom and you cry out to him with your heart, he'll listen to you. And the more you get away from that negative energy and raise your vibration, you'll start to hear God speak to you. So when God spoke to me that day, he didn't tell me go to church or go read the Bible like some people may think. It's crazy what he told me. He told me go outside and run. And it was in the morning. It was January 1st. I remember because I was hungover from New Year's Eve the night before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was January 1st, hungover, and I went outside that morning and I ran. And I did it every day, every morning. And I just felt God telling me, keep it up, keep going, keep going. Every morning I started doing that. And I didn't even realize it was a thing called personal development or self-discipline. I didn't know that was a thing. I was just figuring it out on my own. But that's what I was doing. I was developing daily disciplines and daily habits that compounded over time. And before I knew it, my life was changed.
Day after day, that discipline, getting up early, doing something your flesh doesn't want to do, that became part of his walk with God. And I know some people don't connect the two, but for real, it's real. My wife has told me the exact same thing before. She said when she was working out constantly, she felt closer to God. And it's not because a gym is a church, but because when you discipline your body, your mind starts to quiet down and you can actually hear God more clear. And Lucky said something deep. All the stuff we pour into our body, alcohol, drugs, junk food, constant social media, it clogs our connection with God.
I feel like God lives within all of us, but when we're so filled with this negative energy and this low vibration from, the drugs, the alcohol, the stuff we're looking at on social media, the food we're eating, all of that blocks our connection with God.
We're stuffing our temple full of garbage and then wondering why we can't hear his voice. Man, it's pretty deep. Now, I'm not saying you can never hear God if you've got issues. I'm just saying you will hear him more clear when you start cutting out the static. I believe that's to be true. That's why the Bible talks about dying to your flesh daily. It's not just a church phrase, it's a lifestyle. Now, waking up before the sun is up, doing something your body doesn't want to do every single day, no days off, that builds a different kind of man. A working man right here. A man who could say no to addiction. A man who could say no to temptation. A man who can lead a family instead of destroying one. Another part of this interview that stood out to me was when they started talking about Christian rap in the church culture.
The people that I knew that rapped weren't really Christians.
Right.
They just couldn't make it in the world.
Right.
So they started rapping for Jesus.
Yeah. So I started seeing a lot of that too. I'm telling you, that's what made me back up a little bit, because, there was some real ones and then there was some that wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And,
right.
I just didn't want to, be so much caught up in that Christian hip hop scene, where they got a flyer and then they put all the rappers' names, faces all big on the flyer, but we're supposed to be representing Jesus. Why? You care about our faces? Put Jesus on the flyer. You know what I'm saying?
No, exactly.
So, I started just seeing a lot of stuff that wasn't aligning with my morals and beliefs.
Man. I've dipped my toes in that world before, and I've seen enough behind the scenes to make me step back and say, yeah, I ain't trying to be in that circle whatsoever. And Lucky actually said the same thing. He saw too much in that Christian rap world that just didn't sit right with him. And I believe it. All the flyers with rappers' faces all big on the cover, and then somewhere in tiny font it says Jesus. All the church events where you can't tell if they're bringing you in because they love your testimony or because they know your name will bring a crowd and a bigger offering. He dealt with that. I was actually very appreciative that he was honest about that. Very candid. Salute. That's the difference between following Christ and playing the Christian industry game. And then he went straight at the podcasters. He did it respectfully, and I'm actually glad he did, because this applies to a lot of dudes my age. He called out these 40 and 50-year-old men who sit on YouTube all day just talking trash about everybody. Grown men gossiping like high schoolers, building a platform off beef, drama, and rumors. Low vibration, low frequency, garbage content. And I see it every day too.
But when you older guys are trying to do what the younger guys are doing, now y'all should be ashamed of yourself, because now you 35, 40, 45 years old acting like these youngsters out here. Come on, bro. Like, you got grandkids. What is you doing? You know what I'm saying? No. Come on, man. This is the music business. You're not in prison. What is you doing? You know what I'm saying? It's just an easy way to make money, and we're losing the true value and real musical talent. Like people that really have a good gift to share with the world is getting pushed away because all this negative stuff that's getting pushed out there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm loud. I'm bold. I rant. Sometimes I'm obnoxious. I admit it. But I could never see myself devoting my whole channel to just talking down on other people every single video. That's not me. Yeah, I'll speak on politics. I'll speak on culture, and I'll call out the hypocrisy. You right about that, and I do it. But I don't ever want my purpose to be, let me tear down other men for views, especially on YouTube. And lucky for a lot of these YouTube guys, people like Lucky are watching. They're listening. They see how childish it looks when men old enough to be grandfathers are chasing views by stirring up drama. This interview also hit on church choices. Lucky said he likes going to a big church now where nobody knows him, where even the pastor doesn't know who he is.
I still go to church. So I used to go to a smaller church when I first started on my walk with Christ. A pastor reached out to me. Shout out to Pastor Juan. I love you to death. But it was a small church. And you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to say talk down on the church. You know what I'm saying? I just go to a bigger church now where nobody knows who I am. The pastor don't know who I am. I just want to go there, receive the word, and go home. You know what I'm saying? And hold myself accountable every single day I wake up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, biblically, we could argue all day about community and accountability and all that. Personally, I like a small church. I like knowing my pastor, and I like knowing the people that are in the church next to me. Amen. But I can honestly respect where he's coming from. He lives a way different life. He's recognized everywhere he goes. So when he goes to a church, He doesn't want it to turn into another meet and greet. He don't want to turn it to a photo op or a mini concert. And I can respect that. He just wants to sit down, hear the word, and go home. At the end of the day, what I really loved about this podcast was that it wasn't just nostalgia and rap history. It was redemption. It was a grown man saying, I did all that. It didn't give me any peace. God changed me. Now I'm disciplined. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a businessman. And I'm trying to help other people get out of the same hole I was in. That's the kind of content I appreciate, for real. I learn from stuff like this. I see a lot of myself in what he said. Same demons, different city, different career. If you're a man watching this and you're still chasing the club, chasing the high, chasing the validation of strangers online and in the street, you need to hear this. All of that ends. The question is, who are you when it does?